Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a high-stakes reality, the Graduate Management Admission Test, better known as the GMAT. Now, if you're eyeing business school, you've got to know right out of the gate that this exam, it isn't just another admissions hurdle to jump over. No, it is quite literally a golden ticket. A highly competitive score unlocks massive financial payoffs, dictates your admission into elite global programs, and directly impacts your post-MBA recruiting. So if you want to maximize your return on investment, we need to understand exactly what this test is and, more importantly, how to beat it. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. First, we'll get the new GMAT explained. Second, why your score truly matters financially. Third, global MBA score requirements. Fourth, test day logistics and tactics. And finally, a 10-week preparation master plan.
So kicking things off with Section 1, the new GMAT explained.
You might have heard that the GMAT recently went through a massive architectural overhaul. For a little while, this new version was floating around with the name Focus Edition, but actually, GMAT officially dropped that label. It's now just simply the GMAT. So what changed? Well, compared to the legacy test, this current exam trims the total duration down by a full 33%, bringing it to just 2 hours and 15 minutes. The old 30-minute typed essay? Completely retired. And to prevent any confusion when comparing historical scores, the scoring scale got shifted too. We went from the classic 200 to 800 range to a new 205 to 805 scale. Basically, every valid score now ends in a 5. Pretty neat, right?
The whole exam now consists of exactly 64 questions, and they're spread across 3 equally weighted 45-minute sections. You've got quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, and a brand new data insight section. The shift in what they're actually testing here is honestly fascinating. They totally eliminated abstract geometry and sentence correction. Instead, they're heavily testing computational algebra, high-level reading comprehension, and intense multidimensional data literacy. It's no longer about rote memorization at all. It's entirely about your analytical decision-making.
Moving on to Section 2, why your score truly matters.
So we've got the format down, but let's talk about the real motivation here, which is that massive financial return on investment. You see, business school rankings heavily factor in student test metrics, which means admissions offices literally use merit scholarships to buy high scores. To put that into perspective, at top-tier programs, candidates hitting a 99th percentile score, which is a 715 or higher on this new scale, well, they receive an average of $90,000 in merit awards. No joke. In fact, roughly 80% of all merit-based scholarship funding goes to candidates scoring a 645 or higher.
And it's not just the schools themselves. External diversity coalitions absolutely use these scores to determine eligibility for financial support and career development. Organizations like the Forte Foundation for Women in Business, the Consortium for Underrepresented Minorities, Reaching Out MBA for LGBTQ+ candidates, and MLT, they all rely on competitive GMAT scores to evaluate and hand out massive fellowships. There's even a regional GMAT Talent and Opportunity Scholarship out there that covers up to $6,200 just for preparation and testing expenses.
So what does this all mean? The crucial takeaway here is that your score acts as the ultimate equalizer. Say you're applying from a non-traditional or highly qualitative academic background like the humanities. A high GMAT score proves, without a doubt to those admissions committees, that you can handle rigorous quantitative coursework. And hey, this utility extends way past admission day. Elite MBB consulting firms, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Bain, they often request your GMAT score during MBA recruiting. They use it as a trusted, concrete indicator of your cognitive speed under tight deadlines. Okay, Section 3, Global MBA Score Requirements.
Let's zoom out for a second to see how this test unlocks business education markets all over the globe, because GMAT scores are accepted in over 110 countries. If you're targeting top-tier U.S. programs, you're generally aiming for a 645 to a 705. Over in the UK, at places like London Business School, a competitive range is usually 625 to 695. Canada sees averages right around 645 to 695, and in France, elite programs like NCAD and HEC target that 645 to 705 range. Also, a quick pro tip to optimize your strategy: as an international student, remember you get 5 free score reports to send globally. You just have to make sure you select them within 48 hours of getting your official score. Don't leave that money on the table.
All right, Section 4, Test Day Logistics and Tactics.
Listen, just knowing the procedural realities of test day gives you a massive tactical advantage. The GMAT offers 2 distinct delivery modes: a standardized in-person format or an online proctored format you can take at home.
At a testing center, which runs about $275 in the US, you're going to undergo strict biometric security. I'm talking a literal palm vein scan. On the flip side, if you opt for the online version for $300, the remote proctor will require a live 360-degree webcam scan of your room to ensure absolutely no external materials are lying around. Now, once you're finally sitting in front of that screen, you're going to face one of the most critical logistical questions of the day. How would you avoid accidentally losing your precious testing time? Well, the answer lies in how you manage your optional break. You're allowed one 10-minute break during the exam. But listen closely here, because the system enforces a very strict 10-minute return policy. If you step away and fail to check back in with the proctor before that clock hits 0, the software just automatically starts the next section without you. Returning late literally eats into your testing time. And since the test algorithm penalizes you heavily for leaving questions blank, this is a super common pitfall you absolutely must avoid. Now, another major tactical advantage of the current GMAT is its navigational flexibility. Right before you start, the software actually lets you choose from 6 different section orders, labeled A through F. This means you can sequence the test to perfectly match your personal cognitive endurance. Most people like to tackle their strongest section first. On top of that, the new platform includes this amazing question, review, and edit feature. You can bookmark questions as you go, and at the end of each section, you can go back and edit up to 3 responses. Honestly, this dramatically lowers test anxiety and lets you pace yourself so much smarter at midsection. Finally, Section 5, a 10-week preparation master plan. Okay, so knowing the format is one thing, but how do we actually conquer it? Hitting that 99th percentile score means you have to treat your prep like a serious chronological project. It usually demands around 120 to 150 hours of study. Please do not just jump into thousands of practice questions. Instead, start with an official diagnostic test in week 1. Then dedicate weeks 1 through 5 entirely to foundations and concept mastery. Weeks 6 and 7, you'll shift gears into advanced integration and pacing drills. Weeks 8 and 9, that's all about full-length, timed official practice exams. And finally, week 10 is your taper phase. You want to completely stop full-length tests 5 days before exam day just to protect your mental stamina. But here is the absolute secret weapon of this whole master plan, the error log. High-volume drilling just gives you superficial familiarity, but deep error analysis, that is what drives real score improvement. Every single time you get a question wrong, or even if you get it right, but it takes way too long, you've got to log it. You track the specific mathematical or logical mistake, the underlying concept, the pacing cost, and the specific strategic adjustment you need to make to ensure it never happens again. Ultimately, that is what this exam really tests. It is not just a straightforward measure of math or reading. It assesses your ability to execute a rigorous, data-driven plan under serious pressure. If you can master this 10-week framework, you are essentially proving your absolute readiness for business school. So the final question I want to leave you with today, are you ready to treat the GMAT as your first true MBA management project? Go get that score, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.